So, welcome to supervision.
Thanks, Stuart.
How's the placement going so far?
Yeah, good. I'm getting the hang of the where the toilets are and the tea room and been reading up on the policies and procedures of the organisation.
Oh,
so
good.
it's going really well.
Good. And you've had some time to think about your part?
Yeah, it's a bit daunting still, but just trying to work out how the organisation runs and how I can fit what I want to learn in the park, because it's so big.
Yeah, it is. It is. So what I'd like to do today, given this is our first time that we've met for supervision, is if we could just leave the par to the side and we'll get back to it. Now, I've allocated an hour for this meeting. Is that okay?
Yeah.
What I'd like to do is just go through my perspective of what supervision is, and then look at how we might structure that time together and how we might evaluate that time together, and talk to you a little bit more about your learning style, etc. So I'll probably be a bit directive for about the next 20 minutes while we work through that. Is that okay?
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I guess the first thing I want to know is, have you ever had supervision like this before?
No.
With a boss
I have
or
no idea.
with a colleague or...
No.
No?
It's all new.
Oh, okay. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I'm interested to learn what supervision's about, because I
Yeah.
know that it's all through social work and that it is important when
Yeah.
you're in organisations. So I guess it's another learning thing. So no, I'm excited to find out new things, of course.
Good. Okay. So on placement,
Yes.
the supervision provides you with a formal learning time, but it also meets the requirements of the organisation and the university, and ultimately, supports you to work with the clients that we want you to work with. Does that give you an idea about?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So how are we going to do that is obviously meeting, in a structured time. And it provides you with an opportunity to use that time in whatever way you want. So, for instance, depending on how you learn, you might want to bring a particular issue around a client to me, so it might be very much client-focused. It might be more to do with your par, so it's very much task-focused around, your assessment goals and learning goals in your par. It could be to do with the organisation. It could be something that you're concerned about or need more information about. So that gives you a kind of idea about what you might bring. But I guess there's 4 different purposes for supervision. One is that kind of direct teaching role, because obviously as your supervisor, I've been around this organisation for quite some time, so I kind of know how it works. So there are things that I can actually teach you. There's the kind of a reflective task in supervision where you, depending on how you learn, and we'll get to that in a minute, you might want to simply reflect on your process. We might want to brainstorm some ideas. We might use critical reflection. I might ask you to just tell me a story about your client work, and we might unpack that and see how you're processing that information. The other thing that we might need to do is that kind of nuts and bolts stuff about your placement per se, so that you've got the information that you need, you've got the technology that you need, and that we've got the paperwork, that we're checking those sorts of things off, those more what I call nuts and bolts aspects, but we need to be paying them attention.
Did you want me to journal? Was that be something that I could do, and if I just to see how I'm going, my thoughts and stuff?
Well, why don't we talk about how you learn?
Yeah.
So, journaling is something that you currently do?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So, what's helpful about journaling for you?
I guess putting things down and then reflecting on my thoughts maybe a week later and to see why I thought like that, or if I processed it properly, or...
Okay. So you're currently journaling, even though we're only 2 weeks in?
Yeah.
Okay. So would that be
Not
something...
every day.
Oh, okay. When you feel the need?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So that could be something that you bring to supervision.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You mentioned the PAR before.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm here to support you to achieve your learning goals, but also to help you get that PAR together. So we might need to use our next couple of supervision times to work on that.
With that, if I'm feeling that I can't achieve everything in my PAR, and that there might be something in there that I could swap, am I allowed to change things all through it as it goes?
Look, yeah, it should be something that's organic that we can tweak. The only problem with changing too much of it is that we need to obviously measure how you're going halfway through and then at the end. So there needs to be quite a bit of consistency so that we can evaluate it against what you were doing halfway through placement. But yeah, sure, if there are tasks that you've set for yourself and you just think, oh, I'm not going to get to them, but there might be something similar that you think I could get to that, then we're more than happy and encourage you to make those changes.
Okay.
So it's a matter of working out your learning goals, whether that be PAR specific or learning goals on top of your PAR. That's what we'll do in supervision. We'll address those. Now, again, my preferred option is that you come with an agenda, and I've got a pro forma for an agenda. Why do you think I'd be suggesting that you come thinking about, okay, what do I want to get out of supervision?
I guess because if I came with nothing, then we wouldn't have anything to talk about.
That could be the case, and then...
And I think from what you've said that it's about my learning and what I'm going through, and for you to, if I have any problems, to help me process and work through those things. So if I come to you with nothing, kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, a bit like going to any meeting where
you have nothing to say.
Yeah, and so it can become then a bit of a talk fest, which is... so if I've got a pro forma, I can give that to you. If that pro forma feels a bit too formal, then it might be a matter of coming along and saying, okay, stop there. So the first thing I do is probably spend some time reviewing how things have been, a bit like I've done now. Then we might want to look at your PAR for 10 minutes, how things are going there. Then you might have a situation or an issue that you want to unpack that could be related to your PAR, may not be related to your PAR, so I'd spend half an hour on that. And then we might do a quick evaluation at the end. So that's really how we'd structure that hour.
Okay.
Now you might come also, Liesl, with something that big has happened and you need to really spend a lot of time reflecting on that. We just chuck the agenda aside and focus on that. Do you get an idea?
Yep.
So if you can spend some time preparing, then we make sure that you use that time really effectively. The other thing, because this is very dependent on our relationship and you feeling like this is a place that you can get your needs met, we need to probably spend a bit of time right now talking about where things might go wrong. Got any ideas about where supervision might...
If I don't turn up.
Yeah, because I'm here. You're not. Yeah, if you don't turn up, that's certainly can be a concern, and that might be because you just, double booked or something else came up that felt more pressing. Any other things that you think might get in the way of?
None that I can think of.
Yeah.
If I stick to the agenda.
Yeah.
I don't see why there would be any problems.
Yep. I think certainly being absent is problematic. again, if you're able to see supervision, and again, this is a big ask because you've not done a placement before, if you can see supervision as important as client contact or going out, going to meetings and what have you, and if you can see it as important, then the tendency to ring me and say, oh, something more important has come up with a client won't be there, because you'll go, I've got an appointment with Jill, I've got to be there, and that's really good practice for when you get out into the field.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that I'd like to think that we can do that I think will feed into that mid-placement review time is that if we evaluate how we're going, so at the end of each session I will say to you, so what's been the learning for you from today? And I'll document that, and you might want to document that as well.
Yep.
So, Liesl, the other thing that could be a barrier to your supervision is that if our relationship broke down for any reason, and obviously I'd invite you to feed that back to me if you felt that this wasn't working for you, if I wasn't supporting you enough, or for whatever reason you felt that it wasn't meeting your needs. But for other reasons, I'd like to think that you'd speak to me first. But if you couldn't, then that's the role of your liaison contact person.
Yep.
And they would be more than happy to speak to you and perhaps involve themselves with you and I to work through those sorts of issues.
Okay.
So I'd like you to think that you've got lots of support and lots of options for support in this supervision time.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.